Hello, YouTube. Archaeologists have unearthed a dead city in the Karakum Desert. In some tombs, there are dozens of gold ornaments, but in others, nothing. Everything points to a vanished civilization that has been compared to Egypt and Babylon. And all this is on the territory of modern Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is a landlocked country in Central Asia, bordered by Kazakhstan to the north, Uzbekistan to the northeast and northeast, Afghanistan to the southeast, Iran to the south and southwest, and the Caspian Sea to the west. This civilization does not have a big name, and they don't study about this civilization in basic history courses. Scientists call it Bactrian Margian archaeological culture, or simply the Oxus civilization. It was forgotten for 4,000 years. It was only in the 1970s, I believe in 1972, when Soviet archaeologist Viktor Saryanity accidentally stumbled upon the strange ruins, and then the real investigation began. The center of this mysterious culture is Gonur-Tepe. It looks like just a hill in the middle of the desert, but under a layer of sand, there was a city that was not inferior in structure to ancient Babylon, not at all. Temple and palace complex, complicated water supply system, and powerful walls, and necropolises. There are hundreds of graves. Each one tells its own story. The most amazing thing is the parallels, pottery, amulets, architecture. All this resembles finds in Mesopotamia, Elam, Harappa, and even Egypt, and beyond, and I'll get to that. It seems that the Oxus was an important link in the chain of cultural and religious exchanges between East and West. What exactly has been found? Well, not that long ago, in the 1990s, among the sands of eastern Karakum, archaeologists uncovered this huge necropolis in the Mari Oasis, dating back to the second to first millennium before Common Era. There was this capital city, now called Gonur-Tepe, translated from Turkmen language meaning Grey Hill, with its palace and several temples, able to compete with the structures of Assyria and Babylon. The excavations of this place have brought scientists and historians many amazing discoveries. The temple city has kept its secrets in the desert sands for a number of millennia. Gonur-Tepe was the largest settlement in the whole of Margiana. The complex was located on a low hill on the riverbank of the Murgab riverbed. Excavations are still underway, and there are no exact figures yet, but according to preliminary data, the area of the ancient settlement ranges from 30 to 50 hectares. In this supposed capital, there was rather not a ruler with certain authority who ruled the whole country, but a spiritual leader, the high priest. Gonur-Tepe is the capital temple city of Margush country. Archaeologists have managed to discover convincing facts of spiritual rituals and traditions, proving that the Hurrians adhere to the Zoroastrian faith. In the very center of the settlement, there was a palace with many large ceremonial rooms, surrounded by powerful thick walls and several square towers. The chief priest most likely lived there. Around the palace on all four sides, there were temple buildings connected by one wall. Square towers were also reinforced at the corners of the wall, but they were no longer as huge as in the surrounding wall of the palace. Outside the walls on the south side, there was a pool measuring 180 by 80 meters, imagine, and 2 meters deep. There were 2 more pools on the north and west sides of the temple complex, but smaller ones. All these structures were surrounded by another low and not so wide wall, reinforced on the inside with pilasters. A pilaster, or probably pilaster, is both a load-bearing section of thickened wall or column integrated into a wall and a purely decorative element in classical architecture, which gives the appearance of a supporting column and articulates an extent of wall. Scientists believe that this wall served as a kind of symbol of the limiter of the holy place from the rest of the world and was erected symbolically, not for the purpose of defense. Archaeologists have found fragments of the facades of buildings indicating that stone mosaics were used to decorate the walls, but the technique of the Ganur masters is unique in that initially the image on the wall was painted with paints and only then it was decorated with stones. Nowhere else in the world has such a mosaic laying technology been found. A number of pottery workshops were also found on the territory of Ganur Tepe, indicating that such products were in great demand at the time. What about other finds in Ganur Tepe? One of the most interesting finds is the funerary underground rooms found on the eastern side of the large basin. Everything indicated that these were the graves of descendants of the ancient Hurrians, and they still have a slightly strange attitude they had towards dogs. They are respected, canines, and feared at the same time. From small objects, the archaeologists extracted a bronze lamp, 2 stone staffs with silver rings and on the ends, a shovel, 3 bronze objects, a unique vessel almost 1 meter high consisting of 7 spherical containers, and another wide round bottom vessel. In addition to the large excavations, smaller burials were also found, as well as some amazing things that scientists still cannot give an exact explanation for. For example, one of the tombs next to the ceramic dishes, there were found several stones processed into smooth, even balls, and not far from them a few more stones resembling pistachios in shape. It is still unknown what these objects were made for and what role they served. The Ganur Tepe necropolis still holds many secrets that historians, archaeologists, and scientists will have to solve. Archaeologists have excavated dozens of tombs. Some contain dozens of ornaments, bronze mirrors, stone seals, obsidian knives, jewelry, and ritual vessels. In others, again, almost nothing. This clearly shows that the society was strictly hierarchical. The elite buried themselves with riches, the commoners without. It is also interesting that almost all burials follow the same ritual. This indicates a powerful cult system. Well, that's for the archaeologists to state. They always do that. Anyway, but I have to tell you what is available. According to archaeologists, Ganur Tepe was not just a city, but a religious center. Well, scientists did not expect such a scale. Ganur Tepe was not just a large settlement, but an important administrative and religious center of the ancient state of Margiana, says archaeologist Alexei Fribus. He and 2 of his colleagues investigated the functional zoning of the territory, where they lived, where they prayed, where they were buried, and each zone has its own mystery. For example, strange circular depressions with remnants of oils and bones were found near temples. It looks like a sacrificial ground. What if it was the first theocracy? The new hypothesis sounds like this. Perhaps it was in Oxus that a cult associated with a plant psychoactive substance, soma or shaoma, first appeared. This connects the civilization with the later religious systems of India and Iran. Plant psychoactive substance, people. So why is it that almost no one knows about this culture? The sands. Everything was falling asleep under the sands. Sarianides' archives have been gathering dust for a long time. Turkmenistan was closed to international researchers for quite a long time during the Soviet times. That's the logical conclusion. And then it turned out that the history of mankind again requires rewriting. Ganur Tepe has not yet been fully excavated. Well, the work continues. New, unique finds were discovered by archaeologists during the autumn 2024 fieldwork season at the ancient settlement of Ganur Tepe in Mari Vilayat. As reported by a publication called Turkmenistan, the Golden Age, the Turkmen-Russian Marjan archaeological expedition discovered a cult vessel, a double-sided stone amulet, more than 10 seals, and other interesting finds. During the study of children's burials, 11 seals were discovered, among which one stone seal is a 4-ray star with jagged edges, into which a 4-petaled flower is inscribed. On the reverse side of the seal, there's a scratched rectangle located at the base of the rays. Of particular value is the round seal with the image of 2 bird griffins spreading their wings and touching beaks, legs, and chests. On the head of each griffin, the eyes, crests, and beards resembling those of a rooster are clearly visible. There's a crescent moon behind one of them and 3 dots behind the other, most likely symbolizing the stars. If experts in the field of the history of astronomy confirm that the image on this seal can be interpreted as one of the constellations, then this find will become the first and oldest in Turkmenistan, which depicts not only the sun and the moon, but also other astronomical objects. According to the source, the collection of Ganur seals has more than 350 copies of various preservation. Some of them are represented by tiny fragments. The most rare are cylindrical seals. Previously, only 5 were known in Ganur. During the 2024 spring excavation season, a 6th was found. It depicts 3 fantastic animals, 2 horned-hoofed mammals, and 1 predator. On the base of the product, the images of the 2 scorpions are finely carved, arranged with their heads to the tails of their neighbor. Among the finds of the autumn season is a double-sided chalcochloride stone amulet. On one side is a winged griffin with an open mouth, the wings of which pass into the sides of the amulet, and on the other, a bull whose tail and tongue represent snakes with open mouths. The ritual vessel found in the studied burial of a ram is similar to those found in the sanctuaries of Ganur and other archaeological sites of Marjana. Terracotta figures of animals were stuck on the crown of the vessel, and on the inner walls there were patches in the form of snakes crawling out. Such vessels, according to Sarianidi, were used for the ritual drink shauma, and symbolized the Zoroastrian myth of the Varukashasi. However, the vessel found that season is distinguished by the presence of strange small creatures similar to leeches stuck on its bottom, which is the first time they have been found in Marjana. Of particular value are the mosaic compositions found in Ganur underground mausoleum crypts during the excavation season in 2004, in the year 2004. The scientific world has already appreciated the uniqueness of Ganur mosaics. Many scientific articles apparently have been written about this, and there will be even more, I assume, in Turkmenistan, because the real art of Turkmenistan from the Bronze Age is just beginning to be studied. Historians say that there is nothing like this on any of the monuments of that time in the entire ancient East. Among the fragments found and now carefully restored in the museum of the country, Several plot and ornamental panels have been preserved. The mosaics are made in a mixed technique. Stone inserts were complemented by colored paintings. The images were created using several organic dyes: charcoal black, ultramarine obtained from lapis lazuli, bright blue, cinnabar, or ochre, bright red. The most important details: heads of people and animals, torsos and limbs, feathers and paws of birds. Repeating elements of ornaments are made of stone. The female profile is a unique find. All the other details of the Ganur mosaics convey images of predatory and herbivorous animals, birds, fish, and dragons. The first association that this image evokes is a fresco from the Knossos Palace on the island of Crete in the Mediterranean Sea, well known to art historians, dated from about the 15th century before Common Era. And now Turkmenistan has its own Parisian girl, female, in Turkmenistan. The obvious similarity of both images naturally suggests some kind of cultural context that existed in the Bronze Age between such remote civilizations as the Minoan and the Margian. If we take into the account that Ganur is older than Knossos, then it is clear that the influence came from the east. Of course, this is not the only fact of this kind. Even in ancient times, people traveled to distant countries, so objects from the shores of the Indus and Euphrates were found in the same place, Ganur, and some things from Margiana could be thousands of kilometers away. According to the doctor of historical sciences, anthropologist Nadezhda Anatolyevna Dubova, who worked with Saryanidi for many years at the Ganur excavations, the portrait of a woman they found may convey the ethnic type of people who lived there in the 3rd and 2nd millennia before Common Era. In any case, the similarity with the faces of the so-called composite stone figurines and silver pommels of hairpins for clothing, also discovered in Margiana, is quite obvious. The sands of Karakum still conceal streets, workshops, temples, and possibly answers to the questions about ancient civilizations. Maybe the Oxus is a lost link between the ancient East and those future civilizations that came up. Have you ever heard of a civilization that has disappeared from memory for 4 millennia? How many more such stories can the desert hide? You should look at my other videos about Central Asia. It's paranormal phenomena as well. Here's what some Turkmen people state. This is very interesting. They say that 5 new settlements have been identified, and how many more secrets the ancient Turkmen land holds. Playing boards were also found, by the way. History says that the chess was invented by Turkmens. Allegedly, the game of the wise men was widespread in Turkmenistan long before the arrival of the Arabs there. Only then did it gain popularity in Arab countries and later all over the world. It is proved that in those distant times, the game called Shadranj or Shadranj by the Turkmens had a lot in common with modern chess. The playing field consisted of 64 black and white squares with 32 warriors in each opponent's army. The word Shadranj consists of 2 halves: Shad, which means the highest military rank among the ancient Oghuz Turkmens, and Ranch, to pursue and defeat. Chess is the direct translation of the word Shadranj. They express the military art of the Turkmen. Sources indicate that the Turkmen military commander Alp Arslan, after winning the Battle of Malazgirt in the year 1071, said the following: "I showed the Byzantines the game of chess." In addition, in the Middle Ages, Turkmen women wove special carpets with a field for playing shatranj. Many of the strong chess masters of that time came from the Turkmen Shadranj school in Baghdad, the story says. According to their skill level, they were divided into 6 groups. This classification has basically remained in our days, only the chess titles have changed. It is interesting that the most skilled Turkmen chess players in the early Middle Ages demonstrated the game blindly on several boards. The appearance of the catchphrase in the East dates back to that period. If you don't know how to play chess, don't visit the Turkmens. This is one claim that I read from Turkmenistan. The other one is this. 800 years ago, the world's first robot was invented in Turkmenistan by engineer Jezeri. Engineer Jezeri described his creations from secret locks, Bengham water clocks, to various palace maintenance devices, including robots pouring wine, self-playing musical instruments, and others. In the book titled Book on Unusual Mechanical Devices, Gara Arslan, the ruler of the Turkmen state of Artik Ogulari, Sons of Artik, in which Jazeri worked for 25 years, commissioned him to invent all this and put it in writing in a special work illustrated with many drawings. The engineer's name is consonant with this old name of Mesopotamia and indicates the birthplace of a brilliant but little-known inventor. He's little known these days. Maybe more in the past he was known. In his book, which consists of an introduction of 6 chapters, he provides information about the rulers of the state who paid serious attention to the development of science, culture, and crafts. That's what I wanted to let you know today and bring a little bit more light into the discoveries of the Central Asian deserts. And I'll tell you more. I have already about Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, now Turkmenistan. There's much more to discover, and there's so much that has already been discovered. If you like my research, please support the links you find in the description to this channel. Please like my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. And thank you for your attention to my work.